Hello, I'm sorry for the listen. I got a call. I'm sorry. So with me here, I'm having four guest speakers. Why some are here, while some other persons will be joining. And our first guest speaker, who will be taking us this morning on the background of climate change in Zamfara State, is no other person but Dr. Aminu Lawal Safir, who is a senior lecturer from our great university, Federal University Gusau, from the Department of Chemistry. Sir, please, you can take over. Maybe you just unmute yourself, please, while they hear you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Hope. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
We can hear you, sir.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
I will first of all begin by saying that it is an honor to be invited to this kind of programs. I have been in them for a very long time, but I have never heard of any, I've never seen or heard of any organization taking climate change and hygiene and sanitation, water sanitation serious in Zamfara. And these are the challenges we are facing as a community and as a people. My topic is to talk about the background of climate change in Zamfara. But we have all known the general academic definition of climate change. And in Zamfara, there are so many things that are happening as a result of climate change. For example, Zamfara, let me begin by giving a background of Zamfara state itself. So Zamfara was created in 1996 from the old Sokoto states. As at today, it has between a population of between 5 to 6 million people. There is no accurate data for that. The State Bureau of Statistics will tell you about 6 million, and when you Google, you have about 5.1. In some places, you have even less than 5 million people. So we have between 5 and 6 million people. About 78% of those people are actually poor, really poor. This is according to the National Bureau of Statistics. What it means is that out of every 100 people, 78 of them are poor. This is a very scary statistics, especially given that the people of Zamfara are largely agrarian. So their main occupation is farming, different types of farming. Even the state slogan is called Zamfara, farming is our pride. So being poor generally contributes to a lot of things. These people mostly live in the rural areas, but even though that is changing recently, there is significant rural-urban migration, perhaps due to the impact of climate change itself. And there is also encroaching desertification. The Sahara Desert is gradually encroaching, and according to National Action Adaptation Strategy and Plan of Action, in 2011, it says that about 6 kilometers per year is being converted to desert, the encroachment. But the Ministry of Environment will tell you that only 1 kilometer per annually is encroaching about 1 kilometer annually. So there is also no accurate data on that. It also needs to be looked into. But then gradually we've been observing that the heat is becoming more and more unbearable in the state. It means ambient temperature is increasing. And as a result, there is reduced precipitation, meaning rainfall has been reducing. The rainy season is also reducing, which has significantly impacted on agriculture. With that also, most of the people in Zamfara actually use trees, or they cut down trees and use them as fuels. In the cities, even charcoals are used. So some of our actions, some of the actions of the people in the state are actually contributing to the significant contributions on climate change. So what is actually compounding these problems? What lead to these problems? In my own analysis, there is one of the problems that lead to this climate change, the prevalence of climate change in Zamfara is population boom. After 2006, when population census was conducted, Zamfara has about a population of about just 3 or so million people, 2.8 to 3 million people. But today we are talking about 6. That means in in less than 20 years, that population has doubled. And this is a microcosm or a reflection of what is happening in the whole West African sub-region. There is increased population, and with increasing population, there is increased demand for food, meaning intensive agriculture. And intensive agriculture also results in land and soil degradation, resulting in erosion, resulting in rocky desertification, resulting in lack of adequate or clean water, and resulting in so many issues that are affecting climate in Zamfara. So with population boom come health challenges. There are episodes of cholera outbreak in Zamfara. Again, although I'm not trying to criticize anybody, the government has not done has not taken adequate measures in combating that. So we believe the impacts of climate change are also affecting the health facilities in the Zamfara state. There is also insecurity. Zamfara as a state is the epicenter of insecurity in northwestern Nigeria, and largely because of, in my own analysis, because of the encroachment of desert in the state. And now people who are rearing animals, mostly Fulani, now have no food sources for their cattle, and therefore they will have to start migrating. And along the line, the routes they follow for migration were also converted into farmlands due to population boom. And along the line, there are conflicts generated between the herdsmen and the farmers. And these conflicts escalated into what we are witnessing today as insecurity in Zamfara. So yes, climate change is also contributing to insecurity in Zamfara. Like I said, land degradation due to intensive agriculture. Commonly, we believe that felling of trees or cutting down trees is what is a major contributor to climate change. But as a scientist, we have studied that climate change is actually not only contributed by the cutting down of trees. In fact, trees are a very small reservoir of carbon dioxide, which is what we call a greenhouse gas, which that is contributing to trapping of heat into the atmosphere and therefore increasing ambient temperature. What is more significant in contributing to climate change is soil degradation. Soil is by far the biggest reservoir of carbon dioxide, and intensive agriculture is actually contributing to releasing the carbon dioxide in the soil back into the atmosphere. So much so that even if we are to plant as many trees as possible, they may not be able to contain the carbon dioxide we are releasing into the atmosphere. It has already been established that from 2020 to 2023 now, we have recorded the hottest months, hottest day, and hottest year in history, since recorded history. So it tells you that things are getting worse by the day. And therefore actions need to be taken to combat them. There is also poverty. Like I said, Zamfara population is largely agrarian, but food production is reducing due to land degradation, due to urban-rural migration, due to desert encouragement, due to rocky desertification, due to soil erosion, due to reduced rainfall. All these things are affecting food production, and by so doing, they are also affecting increasing poverty in the state. So my thinking is that if there is any way these things can be combated, then it has to be authorities have to start looking at the food production first, because people have to eat, people have to be, they will have to find, have no fear of where they can get their food and put the food on the table before they will be able to start thinking about the impacts of climate change or how it affects their lives. So what is the way forward in handling all these things? Number one, like I have said, we don't have any reliable, we do not have any reliable scientific tool to affect, to record and observe all these things, all these changes. And there is need for, this is for scientists now, I'm being academic here. There is need for scientists to focus and study all these problems and come up with powerful and implementable solutions that can be implemented and at least to reduce the impact, to mitigate the impact of climate change, or in some places adapt to it. This is important because, you know, the trajectory of climate change depends on several natural factors and our policy choices. For example, if in a government, if the government of Zamafara state can decide to build functional, at least functional primary healthcare centers where disease outbreaks such as cholera could be treated fast and adequately, I think it is one step towards eradicating, at least mitigating the impacts of climate change. We can also create sensitization, awareness. I have conducted a study in 2017 about the impact of climate change on farmers, their own awareness of what climate change is, and how they are trying to mitigate or adapt to the effect of climate change. I think we published 2 papers on that. What we understood at the time is that farmers are aware of climate change because they've been observing changes in the environment, they've been observing changes in rainfall pattern, they have also been observing changes in the food production, the food they've been producing. If before they can produce like 20 bags per hectare, it has reduced to say about 15 or 10 now. So they have observed that, but what they don't know is what causes that problem and how they can handle it or how they can mitigate it. You know, most farmers are not aware that you can use improved seedlings with short lifespan that can be planted and harvested within the rainy season, the short rainy season we're having these days. And most farmers actually do not care about this climate change. Most of them are not even aware what climate change is. So I think there is need for sensitization, there is need for deliberate attempts to create awareness using print and mass media, mostly mass media, broadcast media, so to say. You know, there should be programs targeted at villagers in telling them what climate change is, telling them how, especially the farmers, how to mitigate that, telling them the impacts of climate change. So there is need for that. These are some of our policy choices that I think we need to focus on, and there is need for us to improve security also. We cannot mitigate climate change, or we cannot at least adapt to it without handling the security, the farmer-herder conflict. There has to be a deliberate policy that is aimed at handling this problem. At the moment, we don't have it in Zamafara, and I think it is important that this angle is looked into. And there is also, it is also important we look into mechanized agriculture. We need to educate our farmers on what it means, how to conduct mechanized agriculture and how to use improved seeds, especially. And even we need to strengthen in the Ministry of Agriculture, there is need to strengthen agricultural extension programs. So because, you know, our farmers are largely, well, I don't want to call them illiterates. Let me use the word uneducated. And so they use crude systems of farming, and this is what they are using, what they are doing, their main occupation. They use it to feed themselves and survive. Also, there is a need for us to look at alternative fuel sources. There is a directorate in the Ministry of Agriculture in Zamafara that is focusing on, they call it Directorate of Afforestation. So their main focus is actually to repopulate the trees that have been cut down over the years, but it is not fully functional. So at the moment, that policy is only on paper. It is not being carried out to the letter. I think it is important we create these kind of organizations, create a program. There is an organization which I chair, We call it Zamafara Cycle Community Initiative. At one point, we started, partnering with sister organizations in the state, trying to plant. Our target then was 2 million trees per year. But then, with all the increasing insecurity, and other factors, they contributed, and we have to abandon that program. I think it needs to be revived. I think it needs to be not just revived, it needs to be promoted, and people need to be made aware that cutting down trees, even for usage as fuel, is a bad. To say there is a national program, Great Green Wall Project, but I think it has been abandoned. Can you hear me all?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello? Anybody hearing?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. So this Great Green Wall Project, I think so far has not been what it has not done what it is supposed to have done. And Zamfara is being affected because of that. So I think there is need to revive that program. We need shelter bells to reduce at least desert encroachment. And the government knows where to do that and how to do it, but I think there is need for us to push and put a little bit pressure on them to revive that policy. So in terms of in terms of reduction in precipitation or reduction in the length of rainy season, I think, like I said earlier on, there is need to promote the usage of improved seedlings that actually can be harvested within a short period of time, a period of roughly 3 months. It is unusual for in Zamfara having rainfall, and we are now on the 22nd of April this year, and there is still no rainfall in Zamfara. And that is telling you the gradual changes we are facing. And largely, before, about 20 years ago or so, rainy season can last for up to 6 months. But I think nowadays it lasts for only about 4 or so months, 3 to 4 months, which in 20 years is a very significant change. And there is need for both the people and the government of Zamfara to find a way of adapting and mitigating this change. So lastly, in conclusion, I think Zamfara is a state that by all intents and purposes can be described as a poor state, and therefore, and one of the reasons why it is poor is because it is handling its environmental factors with kid gloves. It doesn't focus on hygiene, it doesn't focus on sanitation, it does not focus on climate change proper in itself. So I think Zamfara as a state needs help. It needs, there is need for this kind of gatherings, there is need for awareness, there is need for collaboration, there is need for putting a lot of pressure on the government to do what the right thing is. And the right thing is usually coming up with implementable policies that can change or at least can mitigate the impact of climate change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Amin Lawal Safi, for sharing from your wealth of knowledge with us this morning. May Almighty Allah bless you. Thank you, sir. Hello, can you all hear me, please?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, sir. I said thank you for sharing from your wealth of knowledge with us, sir. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
Yes, please, I'll be giving the audience 5 minutes. If any one of you has a question to ask our speaker, he is here now for answering of questions, please. If you have a question, can you just signify by raise of hand? You see an icon, an emoji that signifies you raising your hand. Please just do that so you just unmute yourself and then you ask your question, please. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we are hearing.
Okay, okay. Miss Gloria Bulus, she has a question for you, sir. Ma, please ask your question.
Thank you very much. Mine isn't a question, it's just a comment I want to make. I feel really very honored to be part of this webinar and to listen to the first present around issues on climate change in Zamfara State. And thankfully, he's in academia. And so usually when we work with academias, we're very sure that they're coming up with facts and research based on the issues on ground. And I think it's generally almost everywhere. And these issues are coming up. So I have carefully taken down a lot of notes from what he said. Now, especially looking at the way forward on some of these issues. And I hope looking at the fact that climate change is one of my main background, aside WASH and some other natural resource management and some other backgrounds that I have, I think it should give us an opportunity to all rally around and put our heads together to see how best we can prefer solutions to some of these things, knowing well that yes, he has, and it's a beautiful thing, he has pointed out the way forward, but how then can we all, rally together? So mine is just to call on those experts or those that have capacity that are part of this webinar or listening to this webinar to see how we can reach out and address some of these issues together. There's quite a lot happening in Northern Nigeria that we all need to synergize, and come up with solutions, unlike other parts of the country. So capacities needs to be built, and synergy needs to be established. So thank you very much to the speaker, and I really enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Ma, for your contributions. We really, really appreciate. Yes, Nasiru Muhammad Altin, I think you also have a question. Please, Nasiru, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay. Good morning, all. I'm Nasiru by name. I'm indigenous of Zamfara, working with the international organization on the wash sector in Zamfara, especially in Gusau and Anka. With a little experience on the kind of wash gaps in Zamfara, definitely is very huge. And for me, I think Gusau is the epicenter of wash need gaps in Zamfara, considering the higher population of Gusau. And also based on the shortage of water that I have in Gusau, which presently I'm currently now that I'm speaking with you, that people in Gusau are suffering in terms of water needs in Gusau. I remember in 2021, I lead the team of cholera in response in Gusau, where we rehabilitated over 5 water points, construct over 100 of latrines in Gusau and Anka. Also, which as a result of Gusau is like it's the high heat, so definitely immediately early rainy season, you see because people are often defecations almost all the area, especially in the Mayana area. I'm even surprised when the project said they selected the Turunwada for this project. For me, I think the Mayana will be the epicenter of wash needs in Gusau. Considering the higher population and the density and the shortage of water, they usually go to the river and fetch water before they drink water. Also, as a result of that, usually water used to wash away from Gusau down to Bungudu, which also Bungudu LGA is part of LGA, which they used to have this kind of issues. So for me, I think this project that you try to bring is very important, and definitely I'm enjoying the brief presentation by Dr. Alamin Safi, who is the one that invited me to join this session. I learned that, I heard when he's talking about some of the mitigation measures. Yeah, definitely he's well representing the measures. But additional to that, also we have to come down to the community levels, looking at how people can try to change their behavior. Because based on the project I had the organization want to implement, there is sensitization. So for me, I think from 2021 to 2023, I recruit over 300 volunteers doing sensitization in different areas of Seoul and the Furfuri of Bungulu LGA. But for me, I think definitely.
Sorry
we are
to cut short, Mr. Nasir. I think time is fast ahead of us.
Okay, let me
We have
summarize.
more, yes. So we have two more persons to answer, to
Okay.
ask their questions. So
Okay.
maybe if
It's
your
okay.
contribution should be on the comment section. Thank you very much. Maybe
No
just
problem.
contribute that on the so thank you very, very much. Okay, please, Kasim and Favor, can you please make your question very short so that the speaker can get to answer it? Please make your question very, very short and quick. Mr. Kasim, please ask your question.
Okay, good morning all. I will start by commending the first presenter in this important seminar. I'm happy that he did a wonderful presentation, very brief. I also want to commend the organizers of this event, and mine is not a question, but more of a contribution. So the truth of the matter is this kind of event is highly needed in mostly a place like Zamfara, because awareness is seriously lacking in the area of climate change. Climate change is real. It exists in virtually every community in Zamfara and many states in the north. But due to this awareness that we're having, lack of awareness, there are organizations I know who have been working in some of our states. I know an organization last year, somewhere around November, December, that have distributed over a 10,000 clean cook stove in the Sokoto. They wanted to do that in Zamfara, but the political was not there. I almost facilitated, but they couldn't get the support from the government. So mine is if people around here have any close relationship with the upcoming government of Zamfara, should please find a way to convince them and make them understand the impacts and of climate change. And there are many agencies and organizations that are ready to contribute in mitigating the impact of this climate change. I remember I traveled back sometimes in Zamfara, and I was telling a friend in my community that imagine in 15 years back, all of us from Zamfara will know this. 15 years back, if you look at the river behind your town or your village, you see that it was very small. But today, that kind of river has eaten up almost many kilometers, has become so wide. That is have taken away our farmland. You see the place are becoming desert. This is what we call desert encroachment. Very simple example. So it exists in every community, but we don't have this awareness, and the government is not even aware of this impact, let alone to sensitize the general public. And they don't allow the other organizations to also come in because they need a support from the top government. So this kind of event actually is highly needed, and I commend everybody in it, and I hope it will be sustained. Please, thank you so much for the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contributions, and then I assure you SDSN will look into this. Thank you very much. Miss Favor, please, can you kindly ask your question? Please make it short.
Hi. Good morning, everybody. Because of the times, I'm going to be really quick. I'm going to be very quick. It's a question I want to ask. The speaker mentioned so many things, so many very educative things. They're actually an eye-opener for some of us that really don't have knowledge on these things. Okay, so I want to ask, this question is, can we identify overgrazing as one of the factors of climate change in Zamfara? can we identify, can we say that, okay, overgrazing can actually be one of the factors that affect climate change in Zamfara? That's just my question.
Okay, Dr. Aminu.
And hello, please. And I want to ask a question. I can't find where I can indicate my hands. So
okay, please can you drop your question on the comment section, because it's time for our second speaker to come up. But I would like Dr. Aminu, if you're here, please, can you kindly answer her question?
Okay. Although I didn't get your name, I think this is a very good question. Yes, overgrazing could be attributed to also the impact of climate change, largely because it affects, when one goes into the scientific niche of overgrazing, it affects biodiversity. And it affects water flow on the surface, and it affects the attenuation of also water into the underground. So yes, it affects climate change in the sense that it reduces, it increases, let me say, flooding. It helps in increasing flooding, and it reduces water retention capacity of the soil. And therefore making it less, increases erosion and increased degradation. So yes, it affects, what do you call it? It affects climate change in so many ways than one, yes.
Okay, Ghazali, please, can you drop your question on the comment section while Dr.
Or he can quickly ask.
Because of the time frame, we have two more speakers.
I understand.
Yes, sir. Please, Ghazali, I'm sorry, just drop your question on the comment section. Dr. Aminu is there to answer your question. I will be bringing up our second speaker, in person of Miss Gloria Kasambulus, who is the Executive Director of Bridge the Gap Initiative. And she'll be taking us this morning on waste management. Ma, please, you can unmute yourself, ma.
Okay, I'm unmuted already. So, good morning, everyone. And I'd like to applaud the organizers of this webinar. And it just clearly shows that after the first presentation that there's always not enough time when we discuss about issues around climate change, issues around health, issues around what. So I look forward to more of these webinars, and then also how we can even, I mean, if it's even physical or something, we can, and then let's have some consistency in doing that. There's a lot that people need to learn out there. So I don't know, I have a short slide. I have a slide. I don't know if I should share my slide or just go ahead and do that. But it might take a few minutes to get it uploaded because I'm not a host, but I think I will just speak on that directly. So my presentation is taking a different.
Let me make you a host, ma, so that you share your slide, please.
Okay, that's okay.
Thank you, ma.
So while they're trying to, okay, so perfect. So after I have carefully thought yesterday, I realized I take a different dimension with this entire presentation. Just give me a few minutes. Let me see how I can get this. I can get this presentation. Sorry, I should have done that before now. Okay. So just give me a few seconds to get it uploaded. So if you can see my screen, you can just let me know. Can you view my screen?
No, ma.
Okay, so screen. I'm just trying to. So sorry. I can't even find it. I think if this is going to take some time, okay. I think I've seen it. So perfect. So I think I'm up now. You can see my
Yes, ma.
screen, right? Okay.
Yes,
So I
ma.
decided to take my presentation, give it a different dimension instead of taking just the waste management, but look at issues around sanitation, hygiene, and use. So that was what it's 2 slides that I actually emerged as one. And so my name remains Gloria Kasambulus. And I love to use some little bit of graphics in my presentation. And just not to take so much time, is for us to understand what hygiene is. So according to WHO definition, hygiene is a series of practices performed to preserve health. And also hygiene refers to conditions and practice that helps to maintain health and prevent the spread of diseases. And so we have some components of hygiene that I will want us to understand. So if we look at hygiene, we've been hearing the word hygiene, hygiene, hygiene. So what are those components of hygiene? We're looking at body hygiene, which has to do with our skin care, the foot hygiene, which has to do with our foot, our armpit and bottom, oral hygiene, we have hair as well, we have clothes, we have menstrual hygiene, which is more peculiar to women, we have hand washing, and you remember during the COVID, all of us experienced it that we have to use hand sanitizers, we have to wash our hands on a regular basis. And for those that didn't have that culture before now, had quite a lot of difficulties, I'm sure, to meet up with that. For those that were used to that, I mean, they found it very easy to fit in. We also have the fingernails and toe hygiene, which definitely most times we have to cut our nails, we have to clean our nails, air hygiene as well, the face hygiene, and that's why most of us wash our faces. And then for women, we go an extra mile to see how we can clean our face properly. And aside the fact that yes, we women would like to look good. And then also we have toilet hygiene. And that's why when some of us want to use the restroom and it's dirty, we are complaining, oh, it's dirty or it's smelling, oh, this person didn't flush the toilet, or the last user didn't flush the toilet, and all those things. And in the categories of hygiene, we have environmental hygiene and also the personal hygiene as well, which is very important. But I also want to touch a little bit on sanitation, which is very important. I will be really very fast with this presentation. So we're looking at issues around sanitation. And so what is sanitation? Sanitation is the effective use of tools and actions that keep our environment clean. And that is why you see I actually bold the action is in a different, different I used a different what do they call? Yeah, so for it, so you understand that action is very important in terms of sanitation. And so let's further look at sanitation. The World Health Organization definition of sanitation defines it as a provision of facilities and services for the safe management of human excreta from the toilet to containment and storage and treatment on-site or conveyance, treatment and eventually safe end use or disposal, safe end use or disposal. And more broadly, it looks at sanitation, which includes the safe management of solid waste and animal waste. And then also we have another definition that says it's a condition relating to public health, especially the provision of clean drinking water and adequate sewage disposal. So for me as an environmentalist, my key focus is on environmental public health, which is very important. And there are quite a lot of environmental factors that affect environmental public health, of which needs quite a lot of our attention to work on that. And so I brought in these graphics for us to see that there's need for us to trash away. And that is what sanitation is all about. Things that are not useful, things that are harmful to our health, to the environment, are things that we need to trash away and not keep around us. And so we have components of sanitation, of which when we look at, okay, so what are those components of sanitation? We're looking at water. The previous speaker has mentioned around water, stuffs around water. So it is a need for us to have clean, portable, accessibility, availability of water is very important. And thankfully, our next speaker will be touching around water. We also have pest control, which is another component of sanitation. Household waste, we all generate waste from household, especially from the kitchen where we cook, we make food and all sorts. We also have, we clean our home, so we generate waste from the home. So those are components of sanitation. We also have personal care. We also have non-biodegradable materials and, like, for example, plastics, and also drainages where there are waterways, of course, where at times we have even waste materials, household waste passes through drainages. And at times when it's so horrible, when your neighbor, the drainage of your neighbor passes through your house, and then maybe they wash their plates and then they don't trash those leftovers and it has to pass through your house or something. Or maybe you're in front of someone's house or any drainage and then there are quite a lot of dirt, waste there, and it's all smelling and everything. So those are components that we need to clean on a regular basis. And so we have the human excreta and seaweed, which is actually another component of sanitation that is of concern to us. So effects of poor hygiene. I'd like us to look at it. So what happens if a poor sanitation and hygiene is poor, especially on health and environment? We're sure that we're going to have a lot of disease transmission. We're going to have a lot of social rejection, where I know instances where there are people that have come close to you that probably they have some oozing smell from their armpit or from their body. And so they suffer from social rejection where they're being bullied. It gives you low self-esteem and also low confidence. So at times when you go to places and you really don't like the smell on your body, I mean, it makes you lose your balance. It also affects children and education. Children find it very difficult to study. Children find it very difficult to be in school if the environment is not clean. The facilities in school are not clean. We've had instances where the girl child cannot stay in school because of there are no toilet facilities for her, especially when she's on her period. And so it's they stay away from school for that particular period, which actually affects their learning period. And so most times we have it can even result to school dropout. So those are some of the barriers to education that we have actually identified for so far, especially in different states. We also have contamination when we have poor sanitation and hygiene. We also have issues of pollution, both air, water, and land pollution as a result of poor hygiene and poor environment. So, but then I'd like us to look at sanitation versus hygiene. What do they have in common? So hygiene has to do with personal habits for bodily cleanliness and preventing the spread of illnesses through individual action, while sanitation is about facilitating hygiene with clean surroundings. It's about creating an environment safe from pathogens. And we all know pathogens are organisms that contribute to ill health. They actually bring up cause diseases. So, but we also should note that hygiene and sanitation are mutually bound. Good sanitation without practicing good hygiene will not prevent infection. So you must practice good hygiene, and at the same time, you must have good sanitation to be able to prevent infection. So sanitation is a necessary precondition for hygiene, but the two terms are not interchangeable. So you can't say because I'm practicing good hygiene, so I don't need to bother myself about the sanitation, or I'm practicing sanitation, so there's no need to bother about good hygiene. So, I mean, so the both work together. So let's look at the importance of hygiene and sanitation. It helps to prevent contacting and transmitting diseases. It prevents food contamination, pest infections. It helps to maintain the standard of personal hygiene and cleanliness. It helps to kill bacteria that are already present, and then also to prevent the ones that are coming. And it also reduces potential of cross-contamination, and then also minimizes chances of injuries, improve personality, and make people admire you. When you look good, your body doesn't smell. I mean, people want to come close to you, people want to talk to you, your mouth is not smelling, your body is not smelling. It also helps to create more pleasant environment for us. So we must also understand that basic sanitation combined with good hygiene behaviors contributes significantly to improving health outcomes. So we cannot leave them all out, on one side. So we really have to look at our lifestyle. We have lifestyles to adopt. First of all, we must keep our schools, hospitals, workplace, places of worship clean. We must take our bath regularly. We must brush our teeth. We must open doors and windows for ventilation. We must wash our hands and mouth after using the toilet. We must also wash our hands regularly as often as possible. We must also learn how to close the toilets. There are quite a lot of this lifestyle that we can also adapt. Regular sanitations. I don't know how many states still do the regular sanitations, but there are little things that count that we actually do not bother about, like wiping our runny nose, using of clean tissue or clean handkerchiefs. We cover our mouths when we cough, we use like a tissue. When we cough, then we put used tissues in the bin. We cover our nose when we sneeze, and then wash our hands. So I like to use graphics so that, it helps you have a pictorial image of what needs to be done or the message that is being passed. So one who maintains cleanliness can be sure to keep away diseases. So let's look at this: reuse, reduce, and recycle, steps towards waste management, which is actually my main presentation, but I'll be really fast about it. So waste, which is also known as rubbish, trash, refuse, garbage, junk, and litter. People call it different names. These are substances or objects which are disposed of and are intended to be disposed of or are required to be disposed by the provision of the law. And so there are different means of disposal. It could be any operation, any operation that can lead to resource recovery, recycling, reclamation, direct reuse, alternative uses of waste. How do we throw away these things that are of no use, that we think are of no use to us? So waste management is actually very important. Waste management is actually a different discussion on its own, because it tells you what to do, how to dispose your waste, and how to manage them, what to do with waste. So I think one of the things that is lacking is proper waste management around us, in our communities, in our households. We don't know how to segregate our waste, but of course, of which there are different steps here we can for waste management, which the activities connected with the collection and disposal of waste. And it comprises of the collection of the waste itself, the transportation. How do we transport them after collecting them? How do we segregate them? And then do we recycle them? And then and then its disposal itself, and then waste minimization and control. But we also need to understand a lot about waste and its classification, because which will help us in terms of sorting our waste. We have municipal solid waste, which includes household garbage, plastics, rubbish, construction, demolition, debris, sanitation residues, packaging materials, and a whole lot. We have the biomedical waste, and which are waste that are generated from hospitals, or which usually waste that we generate from hospitals are actually disposed with special care. And I know there's a facility in Bayelsa State that it's an incinerator that is basically for only biomedical waste, where those, of course, because there are lots of contaminations from the hospital, there's a blood, syringes, and quite a lot. They segregate them, those that need to go through the incinerator under a high level of heat, they are being melted, and they're being disposed of, and there's some gaseous substance, useful gaseous substance are gotten from that. I know Bayelsa State has that facility because I have visited that facility on inspection in Bayelsa State. And so we also have industrial waste. These are waste that are gotten from industries, petrochemical, chemicals, coal, metal, gas, sanitation, papers. They are all gotten from industries. We also have agricultural waste, which are generated from farming activities. And then some of them are mostly biodegradable. We also have radioactive waste, which are coming from materials, byproducts of nuclear process, e-waste, which are gotten from scraps of our laptops and electronics devices like that. Also, would like to emphasize on biodegradable and non-biodegradable. Biodegradable are materials, items or objects capable of being disposed by bacteria or other living organisms, thereby avoiding pollution. So biodegradable materials are not usually a worry to us, but the non-biodegradable materials are the ones that are of concern to us, especially we as environmentalists and working around the climate change space. So this is what I mean. Some of us might have seen that some information going online or people talking about it, how long it takes a particular plastic to decompose, of which we have found that some of them end up in our landfills, some of them end up in our rivers, affecting our aquatic animals and all sorts. So it's those non-biodegradable plastics that is the bone of contention, where the world have launched global campaigns to be able to beat plastic pollutions. And so we have that come up, several organizations are doing that, where we even do plastic audits to see who are the main polluters. We have called on Coca-Cola, we have called on other industries that are producing non-biodegradable materials, asking them to switch to eco-friendly products, biodegradable products that can be reused or probably will decompose, with time, to prevent the impacts on the environment. We also have hazardous waste and non-hazardous waste, and the hazardous waste are the ones that are not safe to us use commercially, agriculturally, economically, that poses harm to us. And then non-hazardous are those that are safe, that even if you decompose them, they wouldn't cause any harm to the environment. So the impact of waste, if not managed wisely, would definitely affect our health. It will affect our socioeconomic conditions. It will affect both coastal and marine environment. It will affect our climate, and greenhouse gases are accumulating in the Earth's atmosphere as a result of human activities. So basically, the whole climate change is attributed to human activities, of which it is very important to look at what are those things that we are doing that is causing harm to the environment. And so rising global temperatures are expected to rise sea levels and change precipitation and other local climatic conditions, of which we are experiencing it, not just globally. I'm happy to hear the first presentation came before mine, which spoke about what are those things that are happening in Bayelsa State, in Zamafara State. I have looked at that, and I have realized that it's not different from what is happening in other states, but of which we are all experiencing extreme temperatures as well in Zamafara State. Inconsistency, annual rainfall, and other things. So those changes are evident already, that we don't even need any scientific research, because with time we can actually tell within the span of 10 years that there's actually something wrong with the climate. So changing regional climate is altering our forests, crop yields, and water supplies, just like the previous speaker have said, is also affecting animals and the ecosystem, and quite a lot is happening. So, but let's look at this and let's ask, what if the narration can change? So what if the narration now changed, that the Earth is now using the humans as trash? Meanwhile, we are the ones that are contributing to this climate change. We are the one hurting the Earth. And so the Earth decides, Mother Nature says, no, now this time around the narration is going to change. So now why don't I trash human beings? If they won't trash their waste, if they won't manage their waste, then I will trash them. So you know how it feels if the narration change. Do we really want this narration to change? I mean, nobody will want the narration to change, which has a hierarchy that we must look at. So that is why the issue of the reduce, reuse, and recycle is very important. We must learn how to, at the top of this pyramid, if you can see, is the prevention. Can we actually prevent this waste as much as we can? Can we actually, when we go to buy things, we tell them, oh no, don't put it in a nylon for me. You know, don't put it in a plastic bag for me. You know,
can you just conclude because of
yeah,
time?
I'm almost rounding up. Then we need to minimize our waste. We need to reuse. We need to recycle, energy recovery, and also disposal. And this is another solid waste management hierarchy as well for us to understand how this, you know, how to reduce the source, reuse, reduce, and reduce, reuse, and recycle our waste. So why do we manage waste? We manage waste to protect our environment, to protect the health of the population, to conserve resources and energy, to reduce water, soil and air pollution, to save landfill space, and reduce waste. And so reduce, it's important that we know how to minimize this waste, like I have said earlier. And then we also need to reuse. What are those things that we can reuse? There are nylons that we can reuse. There are plastic bottles, PET bottles that we can use them. Women will always use that to put some items in their kitchen. And then also recycle. We can make them upcycle. We can make them into meaningful products. I mean, I've seen people use car tires to make chairs and other furniture with them, which is really very good. So if we do not properly dispose this, go into waste management, we're going to have a lot of issues. Cancers will come up, low birth weight among children, spread of infectious diseases, and quite a lot would continue to happen. Respiratory tract illnesses will come up. And then it will also affect our animals and our aquatic life. It will be a threat to their habitat. You know, quite a lot will keep coming. The impacts are numerous, and also on the environment itself. So we're going to lose soil quality. We're going to be having water degradation. We're going to have soil degradation. The previous speaker have said climate change will keep coming up, you know, and quite a lot impacts will come up. But what should be done? The good news is we have a lot to do. We can reduce our waste as much as we can. We can reuse, and then we can keep reusing. Is it old books, clothes, computers, and others? We can recycle. And then I have just a few suggestions for us. We can construct backyard composite pit. We can use storage bins, learn how to sort our waste, construction of green areas, maintenance of cleanliness in our home offices, worship places, parks and streets, and quite a lot. We can also learn how to educate and enlighten citizens on proper waste management, organize outreach programs, waste reduction, more friendly sound disposals, and quite a lot that can be done. And so the good thing is we have a new story. We can change the narration. And we can only do that if we begin to sort our waste today and not yesterday. So this graphic shows how waste management was yesterday and it can be today. We're getting enlightened and we need to improve on that, speak with more people, speak with the community. So in conclusion, the world hygiene mainly focuses on disease and health, while sanitation focuses on the safe disposal of waste management, which could be human urine and feces. However, both hygiene and sanitation aim at creating a disease-free world that is full of healthy people. To achieve this goal, we have to follow hygiene and sanitation practices daily. Waste management can be defined as a collection, removal, processing, and disposal of materials considered as waste. The most sustainable way to manage waste is to reduce, reuse, and recycle. Waste management is an important issue that needs urgent and sustained action. At present, there is very little awareness existing regarding this issue in our society. Ignoring waste management is too risky, not only for today, but could be very dangerous for our future generation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Broadening our knowledge, for broadening our knowledge more on Ma, please, can you unmute yourself? Can you mute yourself? Sorry. Okay, thank you, Ms. Gloria, for broadening our knowledge more on sanitation and waste management. Thanks for making us know more on hygiene, how to take care of ourselves, our environment, our communities. I don't know, because of the time frame, time is fast ahead of us. I'll just take one question I'll just take one question. So if you have a question, please, one person, so the last speaker can come up. I can see Kashim Abubakar, right? I think you have a question. Kashim, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a question.
Kashim.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation by the second speaker. The presentation have made us understand how waste management is vital in our community and societies, and when waste is managed properly, it can help us to create wealth. Can the speaker help us understand why some states are having more having investors in waste management and other states do not? Like I know Lagos, Calabar, and some few states have many investors, people that are investing in waste, like area of generating energy and other things like that. And other states, a lot of the states in Nigeria are not having that opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, please, Miss Gloria, can you just answer his question on the comment section? And then please, Dr. Aminu, you have a pending question on the comment section, please. You can also answer the person. I think Mr. Ghazali asked a question and is still pending on the comment section. And then please, Miss Gloria, you just answer Mr.
I can quickly answer this since it's just one question, please.
Okay.
I can just answer. So with respect to that, one, there are quite a lot of factors. First is political will. There are states that have been approached on some of these investors coming in on waste management. And if the state is not interested, I have gone to a state that I have, we had tried to push on that. I've done a lot of some assessments in the state, and yet nothing came up on that. And we had people that are willing to invest from Aberdeen. Then also the volume of waste again will also determine if investors will want to invest in. Say, for example, Lagos, if you look at the tons of waste that is being generated in Lagos, is worth investing in. So there's quite a lot of factors that can be that can stimulate that. Then aside that, again, states need to make deliberate efforts also to reach out to some of these investors. At times, if you don't reach out to anyone, nobody will know you have certain problems, and for them to even reach out to help you. So it's important that some of these both local investors and even foreign investors, we can actually look up, search them online, Google, ask questions, reach out to organizations that have mandate around that for us to seek for, support for them in the state. And also the states themselves can actually make deliberate efforts in making budgetary provisions in their budget around waste management. Sadly to say that if you look at most budgets coming from the state, even at federal level, the Minister of Environment have little there's no much priority, political will around environmental issues. These are things that we need non-state actors, we need the academia, we need the media to support, push as much as possible. That is why coming up strongly on climate governance or environmental governance is very important. Institutional strengthening is actually very important for us to ensure that these things are being captured on our priority projects, these things are being captured in our budgets, and not just them being included in budget, but there are also money is being made provisions for that. So there's need to support the institutions also for them to see the need, the states, the political will need to be stirred up so that we can have people invest around waste management or waste to wealth. So there has to be some deliberate effort. So I think the civil society or individuals, academia can start up some advocacy visits right to the government as well, and right also to other investors in and outside Nigeria. That could help. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very, very much, Ma. Please, I would like to welcome the third speaker, who is a person of Alhaji Umar Saleh Anka, who is the Executive Director for Center for Environment and Rural Development. Please, sir, can you take 10 to 12 minutes in your presentation, please? Please, sir, you can unmute yourself so that you start your presentation.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And I am honored to be be part of the event. And okay, can you allow me to? You have to allow me to share my screen.
Okay, please, Miss Gloria, can you make him the co-host, please?
I can
can't do
share
it
my
today.
presentation with her so that she can share immediately.
Okay, please. Okay, please, sir.
Can I do that in just 1 minute?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
I have made him a
you two
co-host, so I think it's okay. Or you can still share.
Okay, I think I've seen it. Can you see my screen? Can you?
Yes, sir. We can see your screen.
Yes, we can.
Good. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, once again. And I'm particularly happy my seniors have already done justice to the presentation. Mine is just to read the little I have here so that, sorry. Good afternoon once again. Since you have the slides, I think I don't need to, but I don't think it's moving. Okay, like we said, my senior colleagues have already discussed about the climate change issue, and Sister Gloria have discussed about waste management. Mine is just, since we don't have much time, to say a little about water sanitation and hygiene. Like you all know, water play a critical role in sanitation and hygiene, and it is used primarily like for drinking, washing, and cooking. When we are talking about Zamfara State in general, we know the level of rainfall we get from northern Nigeria in terms of ratio. From the map, you can see that in Zamfara State is getting just merely 508 to maximum 786 millimeter of rainfall. So when you look at that, looking at the availability of water and the level of heat in the area, because we categorize that place as a place that is very prone to desertification, and Dr. Aminu has already highlighted that. So sources of water in Zamfara, like we all know, is borehole, hand dug well, rivers, stroke streams, which are seasonal, of course, rainfall. But in the recent record, we've seen that there was about 82 rainy days in Zamfara State. But how much rain per day? That's what is determined. If to say 82 will be just a heavy rainfall, you will see that maybe it will compete with Kaduna, but it's so erratic. Maybe it will rain today, and in the next 5 days, maybe at the peak, it will rain. Then recharge of the sources of water are influenced by this rainfall. So meaning that the well and the underground aquifers are recharged during rainy season. So, like I said, I'm going to be brief. The impact of water situation on sanitary practices. Of course, when there's scarcity of water in a place, it is bringing about having a kind of putting water usage on a scale of preference, as in rationing water. How do I use the little water I have? Whether to flush with it, or wait until I wash, then I use the wastewater to flush. Then seasonal water scarcity, sourcing of water from unclean sources. Then, like I said, there's rationing of water and negligence of sanitary practices. When there's no enough water for usage, then the sanitary condition would just have to be like not stable. Then there's open defecation. Whenever there's availability of water, in most cases, because it has to do with attitudinal issue too, but in most cases, when there's availability of water in a place, then you see that open defecation will be, is likely to be reduced, unless if there are no toilet facilities. Discriminate hand washing, like I said, Sister Gloria have said something about hand washing during COVID-19. People were complaining that it's not every person that is entitled to getting the hand wash material during the COVID-19. There are some discrimination. Cooking with unclean water. Of course, where there's no good or clean water, or even the availability, of course, people are likely going to use unclean water to cook, to drink, and other problems. Like in Kano State, where I come from, I know people will see Anchor and think from Zamafara. There's a case of Unchi local government in Kano State, where there's a very serious water scarcity, to the extent that the donkeys, the horses, and the people there are using the same water source for drinking and cooking. Drinking of unclean water, of course, where there's no enough water, there's water scarcity, like I know in Zamfara State, especially in the capital. Of course, there's shortage of water, and in some places there's contamination where there was a case of lead poisoning, even if the water is available, so it's not safe for people to drink. So the risk of sanitary and unhygienic practices, of course, human beings are the ones that are mostly affected by the issue of unsanitary or unhygienic condition. Even the animals too do get affected, but human beings are the one suffering most. But what are the causes of this? If there are no good toilet facilities, there's no good sewage disposal, the septic tanks where the pieces will be conveyed are not as sophisticated or in a good sanitary condition, it will affect the health of people. So, and there are carriers that are causing all these diseases. As a result of this poor sanitary condition, we may likely get cholera, dysentery, diarrhea, hepatitis, typhoid, dehydration, anemia, and malnutrition. But all this, and children are the most affected category in this case. And looking at even the population of Zamfara State, so we cannot afford to risk, despite the insecurity. And now if you have issue of this unsanitary condition where there's an outbreak, and looking at maybe the health facility status, so it will not be good for us we cannot afford to have these cases. So we have advice on the best way to go. There's a required action, which requires a kind of synergy or co-creation between, of course, the beneficiaries and the funders or any other person. Because when you talk about environmental issue or any other issue that affects the populace, it affects everybody. Because whenever there's a crisis in your health facility, in your health sector, it affects everybody. So there are some required action that needs to be taken into consideration. There should be a safe supply of water, and like I said, excreta disposal, because it will increase the viability, economic viability and development of the area. When Gloria was citing example of Bayelsa and other places, of course, when you talk about issue of waste generation, waste disposal and investment, it requires private partnership that people will come together to invest. But like she said, number of people in an area determine maybe what an investor will come and do in an area. So of course, if there are recycling companies, more jobs, more economic opportunities will come. So food supply, education, hygiene, hygienic facilities, all these will come up with health benefits, because if there's good food, there will not be malnutrition. If there's education, sanitary condition will be improved. Hygienic facilities, of course, socially, morally, and otherwise, people will just be living viably and would have a good life. Yeah. So, of course, the strategy for achieving these above required actions, sorry if I'm rushing, primarily it requires coordination and cooperation with other stakeholders, like this organization that is organizing a sensitization program. One, people need to be enlightened and understand the implication of unhygienic environment, health effects of cutting down trees, whatever action and inaction that human triggers in deteriorating the environment. Today is a World Earth Day, so this is timely, and of course, I'm sure it was strategically placed that this program should take place today. Like we said, health intersectoral policies. There should be a cross-cutting issues between Ministry of Water Resources, Ministry of Health, Budget, Environment. Of course, whenever there's a good health budget, implementation of environmental policies, the health budget will lower down because there will be a good and healthy environment. Then responses to emergency threats and opportunities. Whenever there's an outbreak in the environment, diseases are likely to pop up. So when there's an emergency response, good emergency response system, then our environment and sanitation sector will just be working smoothly. So environmental health in health programs.
Can you round up in the next 2 minutes?
In 1 minute, I'm on the last slide. So I think health protecting norms and regulations should also be considered. So all the practices, all the co-creations that will be done, it's required a concerted effort of the whole environment, meaning that from top to bottom up approach should be introduced in order to make our environment better. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation, sir. Please, is there any question? I don't know if you have a question, the participants, so that you use 1 minute to ask your question, please. Do you have any question? Do we have any question? Okay, I guess the presentation is well understood. Since we don't have any question, our time is we just have 3 minutes left to round up this section. For those who are still around, please, I would like to encourage you. We'll be having an operation clean the society, clean the community, on the 29th of this month. We'll be doing this operation in Sudonwada. That's where the sensitization is going to be carried out on the 29th of this month. I will appreciate if you all can come out, volunteer, support, so that we can all achieve cleaning our environment clean, so as we can fight against the causes and also the to restore our ecosystem. Let's fight against the causes of climate change. You do it, I do it, everybody do it. That's how we can achieve it. One person, they say one tree cannot make a forest. So please, I urge you all, come out, support us in carrying out this sensitization program. And then firstly, I would like to start by thanking you all, our speakers. Thank our speakers for your wonderful presentations. And then the coordinator for the SDSN program, I want to appreciate you all also. And then I would like by thanking the participants who took out time out of their busy schedules to attend this section, to attend our meeting. I'm really, really grateful. And then our speakers, may God bless you for broadening our knowledge. Treated today, like I'm really grateful. I am the moderator for this program. I'm the state representative, Zamafara state representative for the Climate Actor Accelerator program. Thank you very, very much. Please do have a wonderful day. God bless you.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
So thank you.
This is the end of this is the end of the session, sir.
All right.
Yes. Thank you.